All right, and we are live, I believe, ladies and gentlemen. If you can hear me, let me know. Just gonna test around here, make sure everybody can hear me. Hopefully, everybody can see me. You know, let's just hope the mics are working properly. So, if anybody has any issues, let me know. Today we are going to be having a fun day. We're going to be doing some reactions. We're going to be reacting to the Alien Biospheres video. But before we do that, we have another viewer recommended video that we're going to go ahead and do. And this one here is the. Oh my gosh, I probably should have had this already pulled up, ladies and gentlemen. That would have been better. This is going to be Seb and Nico, the most legendary moment in sports history. So I can't wait for that one. I'm a huge sports fan, so I want to see what the most legendary moment in sports history is. And that's going to be from our guy Anthrax Crab 222. So Anthrax Crab, shout outs to you, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate the video recommendation. If you're not here with me live, then
It's
hopefully you'll see
2014
this
at the
soon.
Doncaster Dome in Great Britain.
Whoa, calm down. Let's relax there, video, before we get started. But yeah, as always, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe to this channel here. When I put this video out later, the link to this video will be in the description. Also, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to Seb and Nico. I hope I'm saying that right. Seb and Nico. Do all the thumbs up, the likes, and all the fun stuff. We're going to go ahead and get into this. I don't know what the thumbnail is going to look like for this video, so that's going to be interesting to find out. But yeah, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into this one here. Give me 1 second, and then I'm going to adjust the camera here. That's not what I want to do. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I don't go live a lot, guys. Now I'm feeling like a bad streamer. Okay, here we go. Bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Let's get started with the video. Hopefully, you guys can hear the video without any issues. If you are having any issues hearing the video, please comment down below.
It's 2014 at the Doncaster Dome in Great Britain. Over
All right,
2,000
let's go.
spectators sit to watch this year's iteration of Britain's Strongest Man, where
Okay.
13 of the strongest men in the country compete in various
I ain't gonna lie, I did used to watch these competitions when I was younger. These are some good competitions here. Um, who is my? I always used to just root for America. I'm gonna be honest with you, USA all day. I would never just like unless I just saw somebody doing some like outlandish stuff. I would always just go for America. It's just kind of what you got to do.
extreme events to determine an ultimate champion. Today is the final day of competition, and with only 2 events left, the 2 favorites to win this year find themselves at an unexpected 2nd and 4th place, and an extreme underdog finds himself at the top of the leaderboard, although by a slim margin.
Okay, England. I saw a lot of England there. Was there any Americans competing? Hold on. If they were not in the top 5. Okay. Eddie Hall. I've heard of him. Is this Eddie Hall? That is. I know you, Eddie Hall. I don't know who this guy is, though. I know you, Eddie Hall. All right. That's probably one of the last ones.
The penultimate event is known as the Conan's Wheel, where competitors have to
Okay.
lift up a bar which weighs more than 660 pounds
Okay.
and walk in a circle until they drop it.
Wait, the bar weighs 660 pounds by itself, or is that just with everything on it? I feel like that car, well, I guess the car probably weighs more than that. So, okay, the bar, you lift that up, and then that's 660 pounds right there, I'm assuming. Like, this is 660 pounds. It's like, if that was 600 pounds and then this was on top of it, that would be impressive. I'm gonna be honest. That would be the thing that I would be most impressed by.
Which weighs more than 660 pounds and walk in a circle until they drop it. The competitors are ranked and given points based on the amount of distance they are able to walk with the bar measured in degrees. All but 3 competitors have had their turn, with an average of 1 full rotation around the circle, and the best being just above 2. With the 2 favorites breathing down his back, Eddie Hall, who had placed last in this championships last year, aims to carry himself to a massive upset win.
Okay, come on, Eddie Hall. Okay, let's be honest though. Okay, I don't want to be like that guy, but let's be honest. Part of me thinks I could do this. Like, I feel like I could be doing some stuff like this, ladies and gentlemen. This doesn't feel like it's out of the realm of possibility for me to do some stuff like this. I did weightlifting in high school. I lifted weights. You know, I'm a bigger guy. I could, you know, I'm not saying I could lift the same amount that he's doing, but I could do like, what he doing, 73 degrees right now? Give me a good like 40, 50, you know? I can go like 50 degrees on this thing. I don't even think it's going to be that much, like that crazy. I might be able to go full 70 right now. Like, not like right now, but like out of nowhere, you might see me hit 70 degrees on this thing. You know, hold on. Let me get this stream back to looking normal here. Ah, gosh, I'm looking like an old guy once again. There we go. What the heck? No. Part of the stream is going to be watching me fail with setting it and moving my camera around. That's going to be fun. That's not something I have to deal with in the normal videos. But yeah. 90. Okay. 239. Okay. You guys probably can't see it right now. It's 239 degrees right now. Like, that's how much movement he's put this around. He's just spent it in a circle, 239 degrees. Give me 160 degrees minimum right now. I promise y'all I could spin this around to 160. Like, if he can do 230, I've done stuff like maybe not like similar to this, but I've held things in my hand. I've pushed them around in circles before. Come on. I could do this, guys. Don't doubt me. That's all I ask.
Yeah, he's going half the speed of Ben Kelsey, and well, his body shape, you wouldn't expect him to do particularly well here. Starting to struggle a little bit, coming up to 1.5.
Bro, 15 degrees maybe? What are you talking about? What do you mean? I'm getting like, first of all, I'm getting no less. What was it at 540 right now? 540? No less than 200 degrees. Okay? He got me once he had 540. I promise you 220 actually. Give me 220 on this one. And yeah, you guys are going to be like, whoa, I didn't know you could do all that. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I tried to warn you. You know, I tried to give y'all the warning beforehand, but nah, y'all didn't listen. Now y'all got to be forced to see it in action. And then this guy's going to be like, whoa, that's so impressive. I wish I were like you, buddy. You know?
How much further will he get? Look, the arms are...
Can you lift the whole ATV truck by yourself? What do you mean, can I lift a whole AV? Of course I can lift the ATV truck by myself. This one, like the one on here, that one right there, I could definitely lift that one. Like, how far are you talking about? Are you talking about like lift it up directly over my head, like in the air? Or are you just talking about like lift it, you know, so somebody else can get under it, you know? Like if there was a baby trapped under it, I could lift that thing to get the baby out. You know what I mean? If there was like, oh, you got to lift this over your head to throw it at somebody, I could probably do the over the head part, but maybe not the throw it at somebody part. That takes like over the, like, now we're getting out of the realm of possibilities type of strength. You know what I mean? Like I'm just being normal here and saying, yes, I can lift this thing. If it's this one, I can lift it.
Down to his waist, he is barely able to move now. This is mind over matter.
Come on, let's go. Oh my God. Oh my God.
2 full rotations for Eddie Hall.
Hey, shout outs to Eddie Hall. I ain't gonna lie, this was very impressive.
Is so determined to win this title.
Eddie Hall would soon wake up from the scare caused by his extreme exertion.
Jeez, look at his arms. Look at his arms right now, people. Is my camera in the way? Can you see his arms? Do you see how crazy his arms look right now? Like, actually insane arms right now. That's actually insane. Ah, my gosh.
And that same exertion
That's exactly how my arms would look after I get done doing this exact same thing that he did. Again, I'm not hitting the same amount that he's hitting, but, you know, I could 2 full circles. Nice. Yeah. 2 circles on this is impressive, first of all. And I'm thinking about it now. I might hit the 3rd circle. I might be able to do three circles around this thing. I'm just saying.
Ultimately end up making the difference in the event. But more importantly, all
what was number
exertion would ultimately end up making the difference in
number 8 right here? Terry Hollins? Terry Hollins? Watch out, buddy. Watch out, Terry. Because I'm going to be honest, I'm a guy on YouTube. I might be coming for that record right there. Terry, I see your record, buddy. I see you with the 460. I see the 460. I'm impressed. Trust me. I'm not saying it's like this ain't impressive. I think I got him on the 460, ladies and gentlemen. I think I might got him on the 460. That's all I'm saying.
But more importantly, although no one knew it at the time, it would be the defining characteristic that would lead Hall to his greatest accomplishment.
Okay.
2, it's all about grabbing the bag now. Who can manhandle it?
Well, whoever comes out on top here will
Okay.
be the British champion.
Let's go.
Let's turn the lead around.
Come on,
Hall
Eddie.
would end up maintaining his lead in the final event, the Killer Medley, which consisted of a timed race to load
Yeah.
4 200
Look how fast he came over there.
in
Look
the
at
final
this.
event, the Killer Medley.
Look at the
which
distance he
consisted of a
cleared. Look at the distance he cleared before the other guy even made it halfway there. Come
timed
on.
race to load
This is speed and this is agility and strength. He does more than just weightlifting. He's got to be like running and stuff too. Like he's doing this thing. Shout out to Eddie.
4 250
I never knew it was this impressive in this world.
pound objects into a bin. And in an act of sportsmanship, Eddie Hall took the reins of the title of Britain's strongest man. In order to understand the full gravity of this moment, you need to understand what made Eddie Hall's emergence into becoming one of the strongest men on earth rather unlikely.
Yeah. And
What happened?
no, it's tough. And I know what you're going to talk about. So it's not easy.
Hall was born on January 15th, 1988, in Newcastle-under-Lyme, England, into a lower middle-class family, and the youngest of 3 brothers. Spurred by a culture of sport and competition within his family, it helped him to develop an extreme competitive nature to him, which even at such a young age would become the driving force in his life. By the age of 10, he became a national champion swimmer in 6 different events, and his dominance would continue until he was selected to train for a junior Olympic team, where the training became too regimented, which would ultimately cause him to leave the sport altogether. Eddie leaving his sport, which up to that point had been his life purpose, led him to a life of trouble in and out of school. Partially due to his undiagnosed ADHD, he struggled to behave.
I ain't gonna lie. I feel like we all got ADHD, you know? Not everybody, but hey, bro, get a reaction channel on YouTube. There you go. ADHD problem turned into a solution, ladies and gentlemen. Make lemonade out of the lemons that life gives you.
While at school,
I
getting
made
detention,
that up just now. Other people say it a different way. The way I just said it, copyrighted towards me, by the way.
suspensions, and eventually expelled. With the sport he relied on no longer being there, and expelled from school,
Wait, what happened? Oh,
his
I was gonna
identity
say,
was
the video
lost,
just went black.
and he began to go down a dark path.
I mean, so as a 13-year-old kid being prescribed Prozac, which is like an antidepressant,
Dude,
and you're seeing a psychiatrist. So whilst all my mates are at school learning the GCSEs and having fun, you know, I was sat in front of psychiatrists trying to get my life back together.
yeah. I will say, like, The psychiatrist part, nothing wrong with being in front of a psychiatrist, especially at younger ages and stuff like that. Like, I feel like sometimes it's better to just kind of get that out, talk to somebody while you're young, especially if you're young and dealing with stuff. But being on Prozac and stuff at 13, I've never done it, but I do know people who have been on that. And I will say, none of them want it. Like, none of them want that. None of them. They all wish it didn't happen, for real. So it's not a good thing. And I do feel bad for him right now. Like, this is a pretty traumatic moment for him right now. Shout outs to Eddie Hall, bro.
It's hard to talk about because it was.
Yeah. It messes up your mind.
No,
It was a really dark time of my life. I guess it was a wake-up call, because just those 2 years was so miserable. Just like locked in my room on my own, just like literally having the thoughts I wanted to kill myself on a daily basis.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to about, I would say 15 years of age. And my mum sort of sat me down and was like, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, you cannot continue the way you are. You can't stay in your room all day. You can't not go to school. You can't not get a job. You've got to get up and get on with your life. And for whatever conclusion we came to, we decided I was going to join the gym.
The gym became the only thing that Eddie had, and ultimately the thing that saved him. While his friends were at school, he would be at the weight room, where retired lifters took him under their wing and taught him their craft. But more importantly, how to become a man he could be proud of. And despite the difference in the sport compared to swimming, the older lifters discovered that Eddie also had an immense gift for strength.
Okay.
Decades later, Hall would discover he had a
You know what? I was talking about how quick he was when he was like going from like that one had the weighted bag and then moving it to the trash can. This would explain that quickness. He was a swimmer at one point. He got that agility from being a swimmer all those years, and then on top of that added the strength of a bodybuilder.
rare genetic
That makes
myostatin
sense.
deficiency, also
Oh.
known as the Hercules gene, which
Oh.
along with his refound spark for life, led him to making incredible progress. And by the age of 16, Hall grew to over 230 pounds. However,
Bro, join wrestling or something. He could have been world heavyweight champ right here. Him versus Brock Lesnar would have been insane back in the day.
that doesn't explain how he grew to nearly twice that size and achieved the greatest feat in strongman history. And even though he had success in the gym, success in strongman would prove to be a greater challenge. By the age of 19, while being a full-time truck mechanic, he watched the most recent World's Strongest Man competition,
Okay.
and he thought to himself that he can do that. So soon after, he entered his first local strongman competition, where he placed 5th. And afterwards, although he had a decent debut, he would state an almost unfathomable statement to those who heard it. One day, I will be the world's strongest man. And although many doubted him, his results began to dissolve their doubts, as at the age of 22, he won England's Strongest Man, the youngest to ever do it. And he began to work up the ladder to even bigger competitions, becoming the UK's Strongest Man in 2011, and
Let's go.
qualifying for his first World's Strongest Man competition the following year.
Jeez.
And-
Hey, talk about a good string of years. Look at this. From age like 19?
And
all the
although
way
many
up?
doubted him, his results began to dissolve their doubts, as at the age of 22,
From 22, it just flew out. It was like he hit that Jordan
he
year. It
won
was-
England's Strongest Man,
Come on, let's
the
go.
youngest to ever do it. And he began to work up the ladder to even bigger competitions, becoming the UK's Strongest Man in
UK's
2011, and qualifying for his first World's Strongest Man competition the following year. And as previously mentioned, he won his first Britain's Strongest Man competition in 2014. However, despite all this progress, he was in some ways a large
Whoa.
fish in a small pond.
Could I do this?
However, despite all this progress,
Guys, you think I could do this? I'm not going to lie. I think I could do this. I think I can hit this one time. I'm not saying I could bench it like a bunch of times, but give me one good time, and I think I could do this one. This one don't seem impossible.
he was in some ways a large fish in a small pond. As those at the top of the mountain, the competitors and the winners of World's Strongest Man were simply on a different level. Hall had failed to make it out of the preliminary rounds of the competition for the first 2 years, and the reasons were becoming clear. These are the heights and weights of some of the most legendary men in strongman history.
I don't know how heavy those things were, but I mean, how heavy did they look for real? You know, let's see
Get
how
out of
heavy
the
they
preliminary
looked. They look kind of heavy.
strongest men in the pond. As those
Where
at
was
the
it?
top of the mountain,
All right, right there. I don't know how heavy these are. That's why I'm only giving myself one. You know, I imagine this is like 10 45s on each one or something. I give myself one rep. I might fall to the ground just like he's falling to the ground right now, but I give myself one good rep of this, okay?
competitors and the winners of World's Strongest Man were simply on a different level. Hall had failed to make it out of the preliminary rounds of the competition for the first 2 years, and the reasons were becoming clear. These are the heights and weights of some of the most legendary men in strongman history. And the
Okay.
saying that mass moves mass holds clear in this case. Those who weighed more were generally stronger. Most of these legendary competitors were also incredibly tall, so reaching weights of over 400 pounds was generally more feasible. However, for Eddie Hall, standing at a much shorter height in comparison, reaching such a weight would have his BMI quite literally off the charts, and to dangerous levels even compared to the other strongmen. However, to climb the mountain of strongman, Eddie began to push his body like never before.
Okay.
But it was that training. It was
Okay.
going to-
Okay, buddy. This is where you lost me. This is where you lost me. You might have got me here. I could probably do one rep. I could probably do. I don't know if I could do straight up. I could curl this. Okay. I could probably curl each hand. Okay. I feel like I might be able to get this. Maybe take like 40, 50 pounds off, and I got this for sure. The training music. Iceland has some really good, beefy guys. Yeah. I mean, shout outs to Iceland. You know, it's cold. You got to have a little thickness to maintain over there. You know, I'm sure that's been passed down within their DNA. But again, maybe like 90 pounds each hand. You know, give me like 2 weeks in a gym with Eddie Hall, and I promise you, I'm coming out a beast. Like me and Eddie going in the gym, like freaking, you know, like it's like Goku and Vegeta and stuff. Except, you know, I'm better than Vegeta, and I will always maintain that. But he's gonna be Goku. You know, it's gonna be like, dang, I can't believe he's so powerful now.
But it was that training. It was going to the gym and coming back and feeling better about myself. But training for me was my void.
Okay. Whoa, buddy. Calm down. What are you doing? Do not hurt yourself. You got to be careful doing this. That is 485 pounds on your dome right now if you mess up. And like that right there, that's scary. That's scary. That's 485 pounds coming down with some momentum now. You know? No belt. Bro, is your back okay? You lifting almost 1,000 pounds with no weight belt on? What are you doing with yourself? Brother, do you not have a belt on right now? Do you not have a weight belt on right now? What are you doing with yourself? Edward Hall, come on now.
After cementing himself as one
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. You guys know how I feel. I said it at the beginning of the video. Shout out to the United States. Brian Shaw, I see you, buddy. America all the way. USA, let's go. Also, this video is about Eddie Hall, though. So shout outs to UK. But you know what? We don't gotta, you know, Zodrunas. Hey, you're a great guy. Mr. Bornson. Yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce your first name. That's how much out of the loop I am with you, buddy. I'm so out of the loop with you, I can't even pronounce your first name. Is that a P or is that an L? What is this new letter that they have? This is an Icelandic letter that I've never even seen before. being the strongest guy in the U.S. A lot harder than being the strongest guy in the U.K. That's true because there's a lot of people. You know, we just got the numbers, but also, you know, it's America. You know, who's beating America? Let's be real here, guys. America, we got the strongest. Everybody, you know, we so strong up in here. Nobody's weak in America. It's crazy. It's pronounced Hawthorne. Hawthorne. The letter is pronounced like the English TH. What? Hawthorne? What? Now I'm over here learning Icelandic.
One of the top contenders for the World's Strongest Man title, Eddie's goals were clear.
I want to win your strongest man. I want to smash the deadlift world record.
However, one would come unexpectedly soon.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I know that adrenaline is hitting like crazy right now. He must feel like he's on drugs or something right now. That adrenaline's got to be insane.
Shortly after breaking the record, Hall had this conversation with the promoter.
Do you reckon you'd be able to get £1 million off the company if I did 500?
When will you do it by?
I'll wear their logo next year.
For next year?
Next year deadlift.
£1 million in the
£1 million
deadlift.
Then it'll go f***ing viral. I'll have your logo on my chest. The offer's there.
But willing to haggle.
Eddie Hall proposed the impossible idea of lifting 500 kilograms, or over 1,100 pounds. And at first, the promoter and the world thought he was joking and simply saying it for publicity.
No,
however,
he was real. He was being so serious, the promoter didn't even know.
It's hard to blame them. This graph displays the world record progression of the deadlift up until the point that Eddie made this statement. Most jumps in the deadlift world record were around a 1% increase from the previous one, and the more recent ones were less than a fraction of a percent. Eddie's proposed record would be just about an 8% increase from the most recent one.
Okay.
An unparalleled jump in the history of strongman. In fact, it would be an unparalleled jump in the history of the most impressive world records across any sport.
Oh,
And
whoa, hold on now. What? Okay. Wait, is this the chick that did that move that they said was so good that they banned it and said nobody else? Simone Biles, yeah, she did that one move. And they were like, yo, you can't do that again. Like, it was incredible, but people are going to get hurt doing that. And then wasn't there like an ice skating chick that also did something like that where she did like multiple spins? She did like so many spins that people were like, yeah, that's impressive. Also, that move is banned now. Nobody else tried that ever. You guys aren't good enough to do it. You're going to hurt yourselves, so don't do it. They're like, they had to put rules in place. Like, hey, you can't do what Simone Biles is doing because you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to break your freaking neck doing that. We don't want that to happen. It's not going to be good for ratings. But yeah, Eddie Hall was like, oh yeah, that's impressive. Well, I'm about to go 50 or 40, almost 40 more kilos than the record before. So how about that?
The probability of the lift in many people's eyes led to a large financial incentive for the lift, and one that Hall would come to rely on. Due to the large costs of training for the sport, his savings were being depleted, and he knew if he wanted to continue with his passion as a way to support his family, he would have to complete such a lift for the potential reward. Hall would place a low-odds 5-figure bet on himself to lift 500 kg the following year, and began training for the hardest lift of his life.
Okay. This feels like some good training. I ain't gonna lie. This feels like good training right here. Might need to have a weight belt on though, just to have one.
Training for the lift proved to be a bigger challenge than he imagined. As similar to everyone around him, he had hit a plateau in his deadlift progression. During the first 4 months of training, he was unable to pass 455 kilograms. And even with all of his willpower and training techniques he had honed through the past decade and a half, he was unable to make the progress he needed to see. When talking with a trainer, he came to the conclusion that he would be unable to lift the 500 kilogram bar when his family depended on it, at least not through normal means. He began to research any possible way he could break this plateau, and through his research he stumbled upon the secret that seemed like the stuff of legends. In 2012, Steve Kornacki was working on his car when the jack gave out and his BMW 525 fell on top of him, causing him to fracture 5 of his ribs and fall unconscious. That's when his 22-year-old daughter came upon the situation, and in a moment of life or death, she managed to lift the car off her father's body, move him out from under, and give him CPR before taking him to the hospital where he would make a full recovery. This phenomenon, known as hysterical strength, is the theory that in a situation of life or death, the brain can allow the human body to access nearly 100% of their muscle fibers, about 30% above the natural limit put by the brain to avoid serious injury. It hasn't been studied in a scientific setting due to the potential dangerous repercussions of someone surpassing such a limit, and the unethical nature of putting people in these situations.
You know, I swore this was just going to say he was going to try steroids or something, but what is he about to do? Like adrenaline shots or something? Like, is that legal? Is adrenaline shots legal in weightlifting? That feels illegal, I ain't gonna lie.
However, the documented occurrences of this prove that tapping into another level of human strength is possible, and Eddie Hall would decide to take the leap to be the first ever person to apply it in a sports setting. The training for the 500 kilogram deadlift would be on another level compared to anything the world-class strongman had done to that point. Hall would start seeing a hypnotist in order to find out if he could effectively convince himself he was in a life or death scenario when it came to the day where he had to lift the weight.
I started talking with a psychiatrist first about how to sort of dive in.
I'm not gonna lie, that's next level stuff right there. That is something I would have never thought to do. Shout outs to Eddie Hall. This is that Mamba mentality that Kobe was talking about. You gotta find a way to make it happen. This is hypnosis. You know, a hypnosis. Shout outs to him for going around, you know, the roundabout way of doing it. You know, it is insane. It's insane-o. It's actually like freaking crazy. Like, what is happening right now? This guy went to 3 extra steps, not even the next level.
Into this and how to access, you know, get into that part of the brain. And then we turned to a hypnotherapist who ended up working the two together. And we were able to talk about a situation. And this situation was very dark and gloomy. Basically put me in a situation in my head where I'm not lifting a weight off the floor, but pulling a person off of my kids.
Whoa.
I would lock myself in the toilets at the gym. I would literally stand there staring at myself in the mirror and just wishing, like thinking these horrible thoughts, and then I'd kick the door down, go walk up to that bar and rip the bar off the floor.
He would also consume anywhere from about 10 to 12,000 calories.
I'm not gonna lie, that is a little crazy. That's like actually a little, you know, I thought he was gonna say like, you know, my life or death situation, like I gotta lift this up. There's a, you know, gun to my head. I gotta lift this up type of situation. He went straight to somebody's attacking my children. I must get them off of them as soon as possible. That is not the place I expected him to go. I imagine that works though. I feel like that definitely works. Obviously, based off how this video feels, it's going to work. But also, bro, I just looked. I'm sorry. I gotta pause. I gotta pause on the pause right now. Is this guy? What is this beans thing that I'm seeing? Are these beans and tomatoes? What is this meal? What is this British food, or is this like special? He has to eat this for weightlifting, or is this like normal British food? If there are any British people watching this right now, please, is this British food?
Calories in preparation for the lift. He would even wake up in the middle of the night in order to eat extra calories to put on the weight he felt like he needed for the lift.
Cranberry Classic sounds good though. This is what English people eat for breakfast unironically. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me that unironically this is a hearty breakfast here? Like, I imagine these are going to be cooked, but still, why are they next to the other food that is already cooked? You get First of all, you can't have uncooked food next to cooked food. That's just not sanitary. That's just how germs get spread around right there. But what are the okay? Those might actually be kind of good. I ain't gonna lie. A peanut butter sandwich. I've had worse. I guess it's really just this meal right here that's really messing me up. It's mostly this meal right here. Cause like, why are there beans on this? Why are there beans next to sausages? Like, at what point in my day am I ever gonna need beans and sausages? It's called a continental breakfast. It's like what normal British people eat. What continent is this from? What? Come on, bro. Europe, all of Europe cannot be standing for this, right? Like, the other European countries got to be looking at this like this is crazy. Like, y'all got to, they got to be like, yo, they eat navy beans, sausages, toast, and tomatoes. What? That's okay, bro. That can't be a hearty breakfast. You got to be rage baited
in order to eat extra calories.
I am being rage baited to another level by this is the hearty breakfast that he's talking about right here. Toast with some bacon, some beans, 2 slices of tomato, and some sausages, of all things. British thing. They got normal breakfast in
calories to put on the weight he felt like he needed.
What is steak and fries? Okay, I've done steak and fries before. I ain't gonna lie. You might need some steak sauce or something on here though. That might be good. These protein to go bars, I'm not a huge fan of them, but they aren't terrible, depending on which ones you get. And this is, is this an actual salad right here? Or is this just like the salad crumbs? Is this the breadcrumbs or the actual salad?
For the lift.
Either way, that's a good, you're eating a lot for the day. That breakfast is a rough breakfast, though. I'm going to tell you that right now.
This program would push Eddie Hall to an all-time high in his weight of around 430 pounds. And at 6'2", this weight was extremely dangerous and honestly impressive, as competitors even taller than him were at a similar or less weight. However,
so this guy calls himself Thor. Hofthor over there. Makes sense. Wait, is this the guy from that Game of Thrones show? Is this the Thor guy from Game of Thrones? Guys, let me know if this is the guy from Game of Thrones, if he was in there.
Despite being heavier and stronger than he had ever been, he never attempted higher than 455 kilogram in training, saying he would leave the 500 kilogram lift for the day itself.
Okay.
And that day soon came. On July 9th, in his home region of England, the 2016 World Deadlift Championships commenced, and the format of the event was simple. Each of the 12 competitors would get 3 attempts at any designated weight of their choice, and they would have to get each lift to move on to the next one. Eddie Hall and several other competitors had the following progression set: 420 kilograms for the first lift, 465 kilograms for the second lift, and the magnum opus of a 500 kilogram attempt for the third lift.
Okay.
Out of the 12 competitors on the day, 8 completed a 420 kilogram lift, and when it was Eddie...
I ain't gonna lie, I'm digging this music. I was born in the 90s, so I feel like this is like late 90s nostalgia music, like anthem for like random background events type song right here. Like, this is like that music you hear in a movie when they're going into a nightclub, but it's like some type of action movie or something, or like one of the, and they got to make the club seem like it's going crazy. So you got this music is playing in the background, people just randomly dancing and stuff like that. And then the main character is doing a walkthrough, a walk and talk, he's walking and he's talking through the club. Yeah, we're going to do this, that, and the third. Segir, the mountain. Wait, I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. I looked it up. He was in the Game of Thrones. I didn't know that before. Yeah, he was the mountain. I don't know why I can't pronounce that name. Sir Gregor Clegane? Clegane? Bro, this is me just mispronouncing stuff. Live stream, me not knowing how to pronounce things. The mountain, I could say that one. That's why they called him that. Wasn't nobody saying Gregor Clegane. I'm going to call you the mountain, sir. You are the mountain.
It went up faster than ever before. It was clear by his demeanor that Eddie Hall's head was somewhere else, and these first 2 lifts were simply a stepping stone for the ultimate goal. Several other competitors attempted a 465 kilogram lift, but nearly
I feel like you way too high up in the ground to even start this lift. Like, I feel like if you're going to do this lift, you probably want to start off, get the momentum, start off low and then raise up. But, I'm no professional here, but I will say, give me half of this. I got you.
none achieved it. To be fair,
I got half of this.
465 kilograms would be a new world record already, breaking the standing world record of 463 kilograms that Eddie Hall set about a year prior.
Using those knees, buddy. Use those knees a lot for leverage. I ain't gonna lie. Look at how it was on it. Like,
However,
look at how much of it was on
world
his
record
knees.
of 463 kilograms.
He's legitimately just using his. Is this legal? Is this not like some type of points taken away because he's using his knees for leverage right now? Like, clearly, this isn't even like, a little bit of help. It feels like he just rested this on his knees and he found he found that balance within himself where if he leans so far back, he's not going to fall. He's just going to stay at this place. He found that momentum and he's going with it.
That Eddie Hall
That's
set
crazy.
about a year prior. However, 2 competitors were able to get a good shot at 465 kg.
See, look at that. Nobody is resting it on their knees as much as that last guy. This guy is like standing straight up pretty much, and it's pressed against his knee or his leg, but it's really like at an even point where like maybe his leg is giving him a little bit of a lift or a little bit of support, but not terribly. And this guy, pretty much the same thing. I mean, I can't really tell as much with him, but you could definitely tell he's not like just leaning on it. Like,
And this was Eddie's attempt.
look at that.
All right, let's go to 500 kilos for a half-ton deadlift.
Then, Eddie was backstage for one more time.
Come on, Eddie.
All of the training, the excessive eating, the countless hours in the gym, and the hypnotism to try to unlock a new level of strength for human history. Hall looked at himself in the mirror, and he flipped a switch in his mind, and headed out for the lift. As he was getting prepared on stage, the crowd's noise was the loudest it had been the entire night. One look at Eddie Hall and it was clear. It was do or die time for him. He had
Oh, hold on. He got that look in
one
his
look at
eye.
Eddie Hall and it was
Hold
clear.
on.
It was do or die.
Look at that. He got that look in his eye. A man come up to you looking like that, you don't want to know. You don't want to know what's going inside his thoughts right now. Look at that right there. Look at that face. Look at those eyes. I can just see like fire just like burning out of him right now.
Time for him. He had one moment to prove it was all worth it. Him never believing he would amount to anything as a child. All the people that doubted him when becoming a strongman.
Well, maybe let's not add the owner to the guy. When we're talking about people doubting him, let's not have the owner there. I mean, I don't think he was 100% thinking he was actually going to do it in this moment, but I got a feeling the owner wasn't, one of his main doubters.
And the desire to provide for his family. Just a couple seconds for him to use that all to break the human limit.
Come on, Eddie. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Let's go.
After completing the lift, Hall spent 6 seconds holding half a ton in his hands, relishing in the history he had just created.
That's actually insane. 6 seconds with half a ton just in your hands. You are lifting up you're lifting up a car right now. That's actually insane. Again, give me 1 month in the gym with this guy. I promise you, I'm on a whole nother level. Me and him start working out for a year. I promise you, Eddie, I'm breaking your record. Give me a year training with you specifically, though. I will say this: if eating beans is a part of the training, I may not be able to do this. Okay, I can do this if we can, switch out the beans for anything, grits, something not beans, potatoes, hash browns, more sausages, anything like that. But when it comes to bean specific items, I'm not like, it's not a breakfast thing for me. You guys know what I mean. You guys know what I mean. But shout outs to England and all of UK. If you guys eat beans for breakfast, or if you don't, continental breakfast, hey, not on my continent. I'll tell you that right now. Shout outs to North America. We got some normal, some really good breakfast here. I'll say that.
The lift.
I don't know what Canada's doing. Okay, I can't claim Canada. I don't know what Canada's up to. I'm sure they got good breakfast, but I've been to what's that one breakfast place they always talk about for the coffee? I've been there before. Not my favorite place. I will say that.
Itself, and more so the extra time.
You guys know, Canadians, comment down your coffee place that y'all talk about all the time. And I'll talk about how I'm not the biggest fan of it.
He spent up there seemed to do irreversible damage to his body.
Yeah,
However,
I bet.
what was going on inside his body this time was much more dangerous. But with one last push of adrenaline, he got up and gave a speech.
I can't believe how many hours of my life I put into this. If it wasn't for this moment, it wouldn't happen, honestly.
Hey, shout outs to his wife, because you need a strong woman to help support you like this. Let's go.
But as soon as he got backstage, he collapsed again. A team of doctors rushed to attend to him. His ECG readings were impossible to decipher. The doctors believed his heart rate was above 200 beats per minute, and it stayed there. His blood pressure was unreadable, and in this moment, everything seemed uncertain. Although no life-threatening changes occurred, the physical damage on his body would become apparent for the coming days and weeks. He described the time after as having some of the worst brain fog of his life. At his son's birthday party a few days later, he would forget who his brother was. He would be caught repeating the same sentences and having coordination problems attributed to a change in his vision. Hall was experiencing symptoms of a serious concussion.
That's like, is that concussion? I feel like, is that a concussion? I don't know. I like Hellas Ranchos here in Southwest near Mexico, but they got beans too, but it's refried or black or pinto, not navy. It's got cheese, beans, eggs, salsa, avocado, cilantro, and some grounded meat mix. Oh, okay. Yeah, his nose were bleeding. His nose was bleeding from that. I promise you. I wonder if he had some type of blood pressure problem in his brain. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was giving himself an aneurysm. If it looked like he was kind of like just forcing like about the burst of blood vessel from the strain of lifting that much weight. I think that's why you don't surpass that limit. I think this is why you don't go plus ultra, because it messes you up for real. Like look at All Might at the end of the day. Not so great.
A concussion he gained without even moving his head. In the following weeks, his symptoms would thankfully minimize and eventually dissipate, and a potentially career-ending event would be avoided. The lift would grant Eddie with the financial security to continue the sport of strongman while still being able to support his family. And at World's Strongest Man the next year, after putting a similar level of dedication that he did for the 500 kg lift,
interested to see how Brian Shaw recovers from competition in the deadlift.
Okay.
Eddie Hall.
This ain't nothing for him now. Now he living life on easy mode after that.
Short order of these stones in ascending order, moving rapidly through the course.
This is his fourth.
He knows how to mentally do it. That's the thing. He mentally knows how to push that limit now. That's actually insane. He's got the door. This is like, it's like, imagine having an instant, like knowing the key to within yourself to unlock your fullest potential when it comes to something like this. Like being able to do that for anything is impressive, but like in this moment, he really was like, I know how to lock in for real. People talk about locking in. I know how to lock in.
As long as he doesn't have a huge mistake, he's gonna win it, and he does!
He won. That would ultimately mark the end of his strongman career.
The world's strongest man! Right here!
He would compete one more time, at the place where his rise to the top began, at the Britain's Strongest Man competition, in order to become the only man to win the competition 5 times, which he did, and fully retired from the sport on afterwards. Strongman is an unbelievably tough sport on the body.
Yeah.
And Eddie Hall retired primarily because he wants to be around for his family. Although he doesn't compete anymore, his legend still stands.
I didn't see this one. I stopped watching Expendables after like the second or third one. You know, good movies, but you know, it feels like one of those you watch them, you don't like take them seriously. You know, they're just good, turn your brain off action movies. We actually need more movies like this, and I probably didn't help by not watching this one. So, hey, sucks to suck, I guess. That's life, you know. What an absolute legend! Absolutely, this guy actually is a legend. I don't know why I said 11. I'm going crazy right now.
Starred in a couple Hollywood films and even competed in a couple boxing and MMA fights. One with a longtime rival. And transitioning into the next phase of his life, he's passed the love of weightlifting on to his son.
Okay.
His son, which he's given an infinitely more stable childhood to than he had. And the deadlift world record would go unbroken for another 4 years, until his longtime rival, Hafthor Bjornsson, would put up a 501 kilogram deadlift in 2020, a 0.2% improvement on the world record, although it was outside of an official competition. The personal pride of who owns the record would lead to an altercation previously mentioned. However, as time passes, the next generation of strongmen continue.
Wait, what happened in that boxing match? How did that go? Because I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie, this looked like a heavyweight matchup that I might want to see. I think I might want to see this heavyweight matchup one day. Guys, let me know in the comments if this is something I should be looking up to watch one day.
Previously mentioned. However, as time passes, the next generation of strongmen continue to train to pass the 500 kilogram barrier, as none other than these two have. However, someday the record will likely be broken, whether it be 505 or 510 kilograms. But regardless of what the record is, no one can recreate what Eddie Hall did. The dedication to push himself to a mental space no one had even went to when training for sports, and to go beyond what a person of his stature could even look like and eventually accomplish. The sheer jump in the record is nearly unparalleled in any other sport, and the confidence it took to break a barrier such as 500 kilograms with such a jump will never be seen again in the sport. As time passes, debates will take place.
I never say never. I will say that part, because you never know. It could be 3 years from now. Some guy comes out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, I'm going straight up to 600. They're looking at him like, what are you talking about, bro? That's not even humanly possible. And he's going to be like, give me 3 months and I will make it 600 kilograms and you will know my power. And then they're going to look at that guy as if he's the craziest person of all time. And you know what? He's going to prove them wrong. That, ladies and gentlemen, was the story of how I made the lift of 600 kilograms. I don't know where I'm going with this anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, hey, shout out to Eddie Hall. This is a great video right here. Absolute legend. Strongman competitions. Again, I used to watch some of these. I wasn't like heavily into them, like super dedicated. But anytime they were on TV, they're a good watch. Like if you see one of these events on TV, highly recommend you watch it. Give those type of things some views so they can keep promoting and doing this type of stuff, because that's a great video. Again, shout outs to Seb and Nico. Already subscribed. Make sure y'all make sure you guys subscribe to the channel here. This is it seems like one of their more popular videos.
Was that lift the greatest of all time? Was Eddie Hall even the greatest strongman of all time? Did he really surpass the human limit? Did he live up to the greatest version of himself? Did he prove to all humans they have a strength in them beyond what they ever thought was possible?
Honestly?
Well, in that moment, he undeniably did.
Jesus Christ. Yes, his nose did start bleeding from that. TTYL, his nose did start bleeding from this incident. No wonder his brain got a little messed up from that. Shout outs to Eddie Hall. Great video. Hey, shout out to whoever who recommended this to me. This was a great recommendation. Guys, recommend some more stuff to me later on. Do all the fun stuff here. We're going to get into the next video, actually. And the next one looks like it is the Alien Biosphere video. So if anybody's been waiting for that one, now we're here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the clips, videos, and the music. Hopefully that doesn't get copyright claimed or anything. I would hate for that to happen personally.
This video is brought to you by Campfire Technology. Campfire Blaze is a browser-based application packed with tools to help you exhaustively catalog all of your world building and storytelling in one place. The interface is both very easy to use and incredible.
Make sure y'all get Campfire Blaze. It really seems like a really good tool, especially if you're doing things like creating a story. You're over here being a story maker. You need things to make your story. Well, guess what? Now you got this. You're playing some D&D. Now you got this to play some D&D with. Glorious days.
Incredibly comprehensive, with built-in sections for maps, timelines, cultures, species, languages, and narrative elements like characters, relationships, and story arcs. But you can also add additional pages, folders, articles, and panels to flesh out your project in as much detail as you want.
Sorry,
you
ladies
also
and
have the
gentlemen,
ability to customize each of your pages with their own themes and templates, and to link different pages together to keep all of your information cross-referenced. And you can even join different projects together as part of a shared universe. Blaze's free version already comes with the basic functions of all of these features, but if you want to add even more options, Blaze has an extremely flexible pricing scheme, letting you individually buy whichever modules you're interested in as either a subscription or a one-time purchase, or just unlock everything for only a few dollars a month.
Hey.
To sign up for Blaze or to learn more.
Hopefully he's still doing Blaze, content. We'll see. Hopefully, one day I'll make it to the end of this series and then maybe do another series from him. We'll see if he's still doing Blaze ads. If that way you guys can get the most recent deals he got.
Check out the link in the description. In the last episode, we saw how the eastern and western clades began to diverge from each other as a result of the separation of the two continents.
Yeah.
But as well as these continents, there are numerous other...
Look at this! Look at this, guys. When I make this video, maybe this should be the thumbnail, like right here. This right here might be a good thumbnail.
Land masses across the planet, each one representing a separate instance of allopatry, isolated from and unaffected by evolutionary developments that take place elsewhere in the world. Of particular relevance are islands, which differ from continents in several key aspects that have significant implications for the species that inhabit them. The defining characteristics of islands are their size and their isolation, both of which will affect the potential species richness the island can support.
True.
The larger the island is, the greater the number of species it can accommodate, and the closer it is to the mainland, the easier it will be for new species to migrate to it. But these same factors also exert unique pressures on the island's inhabitants, often resulting in highly unusual species and ecosystems in comparison to the mainland.
Oh, lock in. We about to learn some stuff. Yeah, lock in, everybody. Lock in right here in your brains. We about to learn some good stuff right now.
For our alien planet, there's no way we could realistically delineate the ecosystems of every single one of the thousands of islands across the ocean. But we can focus on a select few of them that best exemplify the effects of ecological isolation on the native species. Much of the time, islands will have once been part of the mainland before becoming separated by continental drift or rising sea levels.
Okay.
On our alien planet, many such islands are likely to form when the eastward and westward movement of the continents eventually grinds to a halt, at which point the coastal mountain ranges, no longer being sustained by tectonic activity, will diminish as they're eroded by wind and rain. And as both continents begin to drift south, the regions of northern tundra will be moved out of the Arctic Circle. Both of these factors will decrease the area available for the formation of glaciers, which may ultimately bring the Ice Age to an end, returning the world to a greenhouse state. This will have many effects on the flora and fauna of the mainland, which we'll follow up on in future episodes, but as this happens, the melting ice caps will cause a considerable rise in sea levels, trapping many species on the islands that form as the low-lying area.
Holy crap, I ain't gonna lie, I feel dumb right now. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I feel a little dumb right now because I felt like there was gonna be like some type of shift or something, like some type of tectonic shift that like caused these islands to break apart. I didn't even think about just water levels just rising, creating natural islands within like, you know, mountain ranges or like peaks of former mountains. Like this is actually, this makes a lot more sense, honestly. This makes a lot of sense. The Earth is like all connected anyway. This planet's all connected. You know what? We are lock in, everybody. You know what? They were you know what? They were right. Lock in. We about to learn some stuff, everybody, right now. Lock in. I'm locked in right now.
Let's take a closer look at just one of these islands, a small landmass about 50 kilometers across just off the coast of the eastern continent that we'll call Isla Proxima.
Okay.
On islands like this, the native species will initially be more or less identical to those found on the nearby mainland, which in this case will include clades such as the titanopods, cryptodonts, and camptopods that live along the northern coast. But soon after they become stranded, these clades may undergo some rapid developments in response to their newfound isolation. The smaller a landmass is, the less food and space it will offer, and on an island as small as Isla Proxima, animals that require large amounts of resources may struggle. In particular, large predators often do poorly on islands, since they require extensive hunting grounds and sizable prey populations, which small islands are rarely able to support. On top of this, species that find themselves on island habitats have to contend with the founder effect, the reduction in genetic variation that arises from a new population being established by a small number of individuals, which results in a high degree of inbreeding and increases the risk of extinction. Predators typically live at much lower population densities than their prey, and the very few members of a given species that become stranded on newly formed islands may not be sufficient to form a stable breeding population. All of these factors mean that large predators are especially vulnerable to dying out in isolated habitats, and so are frequently absent on small islands, although there are some notable exceptions that we'll touch on later. Therefore, Isla Proxima may not be able to accommodate the cryptodonts and other large onocodonts, so these species may go extinct.
Yeah, but the birds, like any of the ones that can fly, I feel like the ones that can fly are really going to pop off in this one right here. They're going to have a good time.
Extinct on this island soon after the rising sea levels sever its connection to the mainland. While other large animals on Isla Proxima will likely face similar pressures, things will generally be easier for megafaunal herbivores like the titanopods, especially with the disappearance of the big predators, letting them browse on the island's vegetation without fear of attack. However, in comparison to the endless stretches of bountiful steppe and forests on the mainland, the tiny island offers a very limited supply of food, which the titanopods will have to adapt to if they're to survive. One of the most common evolutionary trends for island-dwelling animals is described by
Foster's rule, aka the island rule. Animals' body size will be proportional to the availability of local resources. Look at me reading. Oh my god, I can do it. That was the exception. That was the exception he meant. Flying predators can be erroneous on island. Oh yeah. I figured they were gonna be that. I figured they were gonna be the exception. Flying, like that one especially. It was close to the island. Like if you're gonna need food, you're either gonna go into the water, be one of those one of those creatures that just goes in and out of the water, or you're gonna like fly and go back to the mainland when you need more resources.
Foster's rule, which posits that species may undergo a change in body size to best suit the availability of resources in their environment. While this can theoretically apply to any habitat, the most obvious and dramatic examples of this phenomenon usually occur in isolated environments like islands, so much so that Foster's rule is sometimes simply called the island rule. Since smaller animals need less food to survive, large animals that end up on islands very often exhibit a significant...
Wait, y'all got animals in California over there? Like Santa Cruz? Wait, are these actual islands? I thought these were just cities. Is Santa Cruz, like, an island, or is this like some type of like, is this like not an 100% accurate map? I don't know. I feel like this is an accurate map. I'm not gonna doubt his maps, but I didn't know these were islands here. I thought these were all like normal like coast, like cities that were just like on the coast. Crazy.
Reduction in body size in comparison to their mainland counterparts. This manifestation of Foster's rule is called insular dwarfism, and can be seen in bovids like the Anoa or dwarf buffalo, in the dozens of unrelated species of dwarf elephants, and is even known to have happened among dinosaurs like Europasaurus and Magyarosaurus. Generally, the smaller the island is, the fewer resources will be available, and therefore the more extreme the effects of insular dwarfism will be. So on an island as small as Isla Proxima, the local titanopods may end up shrinking down to less than a quarter of the size of their relatives on the eastern continent. Since such a small island will only be
I ain't gonna lie, now they pet-sized. Now they're pet-sized. That's actually crazy. Message redacted. I don't know what that would have meant. What could have the redacted word have been? What could the redacted sentence have been? That's the live chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching this later on, just know that you could have been watching this live with the live stream and the live chat. So maybe join next time. Who knows?
Able to maintain a very limited level of biodiversity, this clade will contain only a single species, which, to contrast them with their larger cousins, we'll call Nanopus proximensis. But while large animals
Nanopus, I ain't gonna lie, childish, very childish.
Like these may respond to their isolation on Isla Proxima by getting smaller, somewhat.
Small body needs less food. You are correct about that one. I ain't gonna lie.
Paradoxically, Foster's rule may also result in other animals evolving in the opposite direction. Living on a small, secluded island means there won't be much competition, which, along with a lack of large predators, will relieve a lot of evolutionary pressure for the inhabitants, particularly for animals that would otherwise need to remain small to help them hide or escape danger.
Okay.
This means that for small animals, islands may actually offer greater access to resources than the mainland.
True.
And therefore, in accordance with Foster's rule, they may undergo a change in body size, in this case resulting in insular gigantism, growing much larger than their continental relatives. On Earth...
So this is funny. The big animals get small, the small animals get big, and now everybody's a little medium, Now we got little fat little rats and fat birds that can't fly. I know about this bird. This one cannot fly. This bird can't fly. It's just, I'm pretty sure it weighs too much for its wings. And they just are on the ground all day. Crazy.
This is seen in numerous species like the Tenerife giant rat, the giant parrots of New Zealand like the kakapo, and the New Caledonian giant gecko, the largest living gecko species. On our alien planet, some of the most common and adaptable osteopods are the Eurychirids, which by this point have become a very successful and widespread group, with their endothermy letting them survive in a variety of climates, and their generalist diets helping them to take advantage of every available food source, giving rise to clades like the Lystrachirids in the deserts and the related Trypanochirids in the temperate steppes and woodlands. And being so prolific, it's more than likely that at least a few species will end up on Isla Proxima. The mainland varieties can vary in size from only about 20 centimeters to almost a meter, and are primarily small scavengers and generalist omnivores. But on Isla Proxima, once the Onychodonts die out, not only will they be free to grow bigger, but also to move into the vacant predatory niches. Although their maximum size will still be constrained by the limited food and space on the island, they may still grow into some of the largest of all Eurychirids, going from generalist scavengers to dedicated predators. They may evolve to use their broad digging claws and strong forelimbs to grab prey and wrestle it to the ground, while their serrated pedipalps, once used for stripping meat from inside carcasses, may now adapt into sharp saw-like appendages to pierce their prey's hide and tear off chunks of flesh. Once again, due to the limited species richness the island can support, this clade will include only a handful of species, all of which will be united in a single genus that we'll call Teratochirus. But
monstrous hands. Okay, so part of me feels like I mean, no, you're right. They're all kind of, these guys specifically are part of that branch. Like, I want to see where the other ones of this, like some of the more like smaller spider ones and stuff, also come into
These
play.
won't be the only creatures to take advantage of the demise of the Onychodonts. Ever since the Onychodonts first evolved, they've dominated the niches of terrestrial hypercarnivores thanks to adaptations like their thermoregulation, centaurism, and cursoriality. Meanwhile, the other dromaeopods that lack these specializations have been on the decline for the last few tens of millions of years, and have been largely outcompeted in most open habitats, but a few of these more basal forms will still survive as small mesocarnivores in tropical latitudes. However, if any of these species end up on Isla Proxima, then once the Onychodonts disappear, they'll experience a huge decrease in competitive pressures, and will now be free to exploit the macropredatory niches they've been precluded from on the mainland, which may once again result in an instance of insular gigantism. This will likely bring them into competition with the Teratochirids, so the two clades may need to undergo some form of niche partitioning, which may involve specializing for different styles of hunting. Like most other basal dromaeopods, these forms may use their powerful back legs and great speed to chase down prey over short distances, making them much more able to tackle fast running.
Holy crap, hold on now, Alien Biospheres. Hold on, buddy. You got animations? Hold
to chase down
Buddy just changed the game now.
Down prey over short distances, making them much.
Shout outs to his audience, brother. I'm telling you, this has got to be a great community to be a part of, because he's using your animations. Guys, send me animations. I'll use them too. How about
more able to tackle fast running prey like the Camptopods. While the Eurychirids don't have the same adaptations for pursuit hunting, but will still be able to employ ambush tactics to hunt smaller or slower prey, and are adaptable enough to subsist on carrion and mixed vegetation if need be. Along with Nanopus and Teratochirus, these dromaeopods, which we'll place in the genus Romeliopus, will be some of the many clades on Isla Proxima whose evolution will be shaped by Foster's rule, resulting in substantially different ecosystems from those on the mainland in only a few million years following its separation. However, the longer an island remains isolated, the more divergent its ecosystems will become. On Earth, Madagascar has been separated from Africa for over 88 million years, and as a result, about 90% of all Madagascan plant and animal species are found nowhere else in the world. Our alien planet offers some even more extreme examples, with some land masses, like many of the islands dotting the Southern Ocean, having been isolated since the invasion of land over 150 million years ago.
Oh wow.
And with such a long period of isolation, they'll be totally unlike any other environment on the planet. A key factor relating to this is that, unlike Isla Proxima, none of the mainland clades will have ever had any presence on these land masses, since they only evolved after these islands were already separated. So everything that comes to live there will have had to disperse there from elsewhere. In the case of plants, most chemophytes reproduce by releasing their diaspores into the wind.
Yeah.
So while the early chemophytes were first spreading across the mainland, some of these diaspores may have been swept up by the winds of the massive storm systems that were common during this time, and, by sheer luck, may have been blown across the sea to some of these islands. Dispersing across such huge distances by accident will obviously be an extremely rare event, so these islands will initially be home to only a handful of plant species, but some chemophytes may be more likely to make the journey than others. Once the xylophytes evolve, most of them will still make use of wind dispersal like other plants, but in the swamps along the coasts of the old supercontinent, some plants may have evolved to take advantage of the plentiful rivers and floodwaters for dispersal. Once fertilized, their female gametangia may grow into bulbous pods that detach from the parent plant and drop into the water.
Drop off into the water. First of all, I was about to say that. Okay? I was about to say that. We're going to talk about rafting events. What? Oh, wait, hold on. I missed one. It's getting stranger. The longer an island is separated, the more unique the animals living on them. Yes, that is true. But yeah, I was going to call this, they're dropping off their seeds in the water,
floating downstream and eventually settling on a new stretch of riverbank. This same strategy is also used by plants on Earth like coconut palms, nika nuts, and the looking glass tree, which produce buoyant structures called drift seeds, or drift fruit, that are adapted for being dispersed by water currents. Although these xylophytes will have initially evolved in coastal swamps, these drift fruit may serve as a pre-adaptation for colonizing islands, since they'll be able to cross stretches of water that would be virtually impossible to bridge using wind dispersal, with some drift seas on Earth known to ride the ocean currents for thousands of kilometers and to remain adrift for months at a time. If some of these xylophytes evolve similar specializations for oceanic dispersal, they may become some of the most common and successful plants in coastal and island habitats. On account of their buoyant drift fruit, we'll call these plants coelophytes. And fortunately for these coelophytes, the islands that they arrive on will not only be devoid of competition from other plant clades, but also of any of the mainland herbivores, and so act as a safe haven for them to diversify and flourish. But it will only be a matter of time before other colonists find their way here.
I do like this image right here, where it's like these two trees just looking up out in the sun. It actually looks like they're just having a really good moment right here. Like, this is like I imagine this is like a father and son, just like, son, look at the beauty of the world that we live before the other animals come to attack us. This is every day, just waking up, seeing this. This is coconuts.
But it will only be a matter of time before other colonists find their way here. Before the evolution of flight and semi-aquatic lifestyles, most animals will be confined to the supercontinent, but eventually a very small minority of species might happen upon another form of oceanic dispersal. Rafting events occur when organisms are carried from one landmass to another by floating mats of vegetation and other debris. As improbable as this may seem, this has been directly, albeit very rarely, observed on Earth, such as how green iguanas have been recorded rafting over 100 kilometers between islands in the Caribbean.
What?
And the biogeography of some clades suggests that rafting events like these can even take place over distances of thousands of kilometers, which is thought to be how lemurs originally arrived on Madagascar.
Not gonna lie, guys, this monkey in the middle, this monkey in the center right here, something about its eyes, I don't trust this one. This is the most, out of these three, I trust this guy the least, and it might just be me.
And how the ancestors of New World monkeys and caviomorph rodents traveled from Africa to South America. Even though these events are extremely rare, over time spans of millions of years, they're bound to happen at some point.
True.
And even a single breeding pair reaching a new landmass may be enough to establish a population. The most likely animals to undergo rafting events are species that are small enough to have their weight supported by floating mats of plant matter, and are hardy enough to survive a journey that might take anywhere from several days to a few weeks. This being the case, the Malacoforms seem like prime candidates.
I was just bringing up these guys. Like, I wonder what these guys are up to.
For rafting, since they're tiny enough to stay afloat on even the smallest piece of debris, including, for instance, the drift fruit of the coelophytes. Any Malacoforms that infest the tissues of these fruit may be carried with them once they detach from the parent plant, serving as a perfect vessel to ferry them between islands and letting them spread relatively quickly among all the land masses that the coelophytes reach. On the other hand, rafting events involving larger animals will happen much less frequently, since they'll require much sturdier rafts such as mats of fallen branches, logs, and other driftwood, which aren't likely to form very often. Relating to what we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, the rate at which new species will...
Yeah, so the closer ones, high immigration, it's like closer and small. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, if it's close and large, high immigration. Far and large, moderate. Close and small, moderate. Close, small, and far, nobody wants that. Nobody wants an island that's far away and it's small, okay? Size does matter sometimes,
Raft to a given island will be contingent on its size and its distance to the mainland, so land masses like those off the southwest coast of the supercontinent, which are relatively large and only a few hundred kilometers away, are likely to experience a relatively high rate of rafting events and so share many clades in common with the mainland, while more remote land masses may see only one or two rafting events throughout their existence, which will have some crucial implications for their biogeography. Long before the first osteopods, the Lophostomes were already a well-established group, even including various megafaunal clades among their ranks. Along with the ubiquitous Malacoforms, a few of these larger species might have also been rafted across the sea during this early period. Perhaps in one chance event, a few members of a small, adaptable species of the ancestral Desmostricans were sent on a voyage of over 2,000 kilometers to make landfall on the island off the supercontinent's southeastern coast, a landmass that we'll hereafter call Crescentia.
Okay.
If enough of them survive to overcome the founder effect and form a stable breeding population, then they'll find themselves in an ideal sanctuary, lacking any other animals beside the Malacoforms they feed on. This will be especially fortunate for them considering that a few million years after this rafting event occurs, competition from the newly evolved osteopod clades will drive most of the older Lophostome species to extinction, with the only lineage of Desmostricans that survive on the mainland descending from a clade of small Malacivores. But on Crescentia, they'll be safely secluded from developments taking place on the supercontinent.
Oh my gosh, once again, look at these guys. Look at these guys enjoying their day. Oh, nothing bad's ever gonna happen to us. Oh, we're just having a good time here. You know, oh, the world's looking so great and wonderful today. Yeah, bro, I'm looking at it just like you. You know, look at us, 6 eyes, moving around, looking everywhere, being like, yo, look at the sunset. Let's scavenge for food. Such a beautiful day for these guys. You know?
And thus they'll survive as the only representatives of an ancient branch of Lophostomes that won't exist anywhere else in the world. These surviving species will represent what's known as a relict, the remnant of a populational clade that was once widespread but now retains only a fraction of its former range and diversity. An area or habitat that supports a relict is called a refugium, which islands frequently serve as, such as how the thylacines survived on the island of Tasmania up until the last century despite having died off on the Australian mainland thousands of years earlier, and how New Zealand is home to the tuatara, which, although it closely
basically a sanctuary. Yeah, you're right.
Resembles a lizard, is actually the only surviving species of Rhynchocephalian, an entirely separate clade of reptile that once had a global distribution before being largely wiped out along with the non-avian dinosaurs. Likewise, Crescentia will serve as a refugium for these relict Desmostricans, which will continue to thrive on the island even as the megafaunal Lophostomes are replaced by the osteopods elsewhere in the world. We'll call their unique lineage the Notiforms. Once they fully colonize the island, the lack of competition will have several immediate effects. First of all, although their lack of an internal skeleton and the diminishing levels of atmospheric oxygen will still restrict them to only a dozen or so kilograms at the most, the abundance of food and the absence of any osteopods to compete with will once again result in insular gigantism, with many species growing much larger than the vast majority of the mainland Lophostomes, much like how the lack of mammals in New Zealand has allowed the giant...
Guys, I'm trying not to be the person who says don't go to New Zealand, but then I gotta see stuff like this. How do I tell people, yeah, it's safe to go to New Zealand, and then there's stuff like this everywhere? Like, what? Make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. How am I supposed to do it? Think about it.
Wetter to evolve into one of the largest insects.
I can't with a moral compass. I can't tell people to go to New Zealand when I know there's things like this out there. Come on,
on Earth. Another common occurrence among animals that migrate to isolated or uncolonized habitats is for them to undergo an adaptive radiation, rapidly diversifying into a multitude of different forms to fill all the unoccupied niches. And especially...
Hold on now. Never did you just say that. Never did you just say, this guy is harmless? Is that what you're talking about? Are you saying this guy is harmless? You know what? It's not harmless, because I would have a heart attack just seeing it. How is that harmless if it's giving me a heart attack? Can you explain that for me? How is it harmless if I am personally having a heart attack from seeing this thing? This thing jumps on me, I'm dying, okay? My heart, boom. The cartoons you see where the cartoon is like the soul comes out and he looks at the body, that's me. I'm looking at my body from the other side, looking at this thing, and this thing's looking at me like, whoa, you died? I'm harmless, buddy. And I'm over here like, wow, I'm just a spirit now, getting floated up into the sky. The gates are right there. Saint Michael is looking at me like, oh, whoa, you're a little early here, aren't you?
Another common occurrence among animals that migrate to isolated or uncolonized habitats is for them to undergo an adaptive radiation, rapidly diversifying into a multitude of different forms to fill all the unoccupied niches. An especially famous example of this is Darwin's finches, which all descend from a recent common
Not his fault. Okay. You know what? It's not directly his fault. Indirectly, completely his fault, okay? Indirectly, his fault 100%. Call it whatever animal crime you want to. I'm no animal crimeologist here. I just know a bug that would, freaking Darwin finches.
Ancestor that arrived on the Galapagos Islands within the last 2 to 3 million years that then promptly evolved into over a dozen different species. This effect will be particularly extreme on an island like Crescentia, since all the niches for animals larger than the Malacoforms will be completely vacant when the Notiforms first arrive, leaving almost the entire food web up for grabs. The original Notiform species that first rafted to the island was a small generalist omnivore, a lifestyle that many subsequent Notiforms may retain. But soon after they arrive, one branch may specialize for feeding on vegetation, evolving a large, powerful gut supported by bulky, weight-bearing legs and strong, compact mouth parts to masticate plant matter.
Hey, that sounds just like me for real. I ain't gonna lie. Hey, gotta get that strong gut there, buddy.
Being indiscriminate herbivores, they won't need the antennae-like sensory tentacles of the early Notiforms to sift through the leaf litter, so these appendages may shrink to not interfere with feeding, and their banded shell may acquire a distinct saddle shape to let them angle their heads upward to reach for food. We'll call these herbivores Thyreostracans. Meanwhile, another group may specialize for carnivory, evolving into the island's first large predators. Like most Lophostomes, the Notiforms won't be very nimble animals, with their stubby, boneless limbs only letting them manage an awkward waddling gait. However, the Desmostracans are more maneuverable than most Lophostomes thanks to their flexible banded shell, and reducing...
Okay, I remember these guys. They eventually had a adaptation where they could they're the ones who adapted to their shells actually broke into pieces, but end up having slits so they can kind of roll in a ball shape.
Shell even further will allow the muscles along their flank to contribute to locomotion, increasing their stride length by bending the body into an alternating S shape.
I'm not gonna lie, these things look disgusting now. This looks disgusting right now. If I see that thing on oh my gosh, I feel like it's gonna leave us a trail of slime.
This will make them some of the fastest of all land-dwelling Lophostomes, which, along with other adaptations such as camouflage patterns to conceal them amid the undergrowth and sharp, toothy mouthparts to latch onto prey, will let them fill the majority of the carnivorous niches on Crescentia, from small, worm-like mesocarnivores to meter-long macropredators. Both the Thyreostracans and these predators, which we'll call Campylospondyls, will continue to proliferate over tens of millions of years to exploit all the...
Not gonna lie, I feel like this... somebody could make a game based off of this series. Here's my pitch for the game. Guys, commenters, make sure y'all copyright this next speech right here. I want to make sure nobody else steals my idea for this one. So let's go ahead and make sure y'all copyright that one. So here's the idea, guys. You're on it's one of those survival games. You got to survive and build, some type of fort or something like that. You gotta be doing constant things to stay alive in this survival scenario. But there's all these crazy creatures around and stuff. Some of them you don't know which ones are good or which ones aren't. You don't know which ones are herbivores or nothing like that. You're on a whole nother planet. You fall onto the planet. This is the planet that you're on. These are the creatures you gotta live with. You gotta survive, build. You can craft stuff eventually. There's going to be a whole crafting mechanic. Don't worry about that, people. We're gonna make sure you can craft stuff. But then maybe we'll have you document the some of the aliens. This is for research. Basically, Ark Survival Evolved. Yes, this will be like Ark, but imagine Ark, but I've played it before. That would be this game. I've never played Ark. I've heard of it from people who like those type of games, but I will be honest, those are not my type of games. So even in the game that I'm pitching to you guys right now, I probably wouldn't play this game as much. I would play it to support Alien Biography or Biospheres. That's what I would say. You know, but Belligeon, I want to support that guy. So I would buy the game. Would I play it a lot? I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't be. This wouldn't be like the game I play all the time. This ain't my Marvel Rivals, but it would be a game that I have on rotation and make sure to tell everybody else to get it because I support my boy. You know, we all support Belligeon around here, okay? That's the type of house we live in. We're in the Belligeon supporting household, even if we don't say his name properly,
the
okay?
niches Crescentia has to offer, resulting in ecosystems completely unlike anything on the mainland. However, over the 50 million years following their arrival on the island, the conditions may eventually come into place for another rafting event to occur.
Okay.
Perhaps this time, a handful of small arboreal platodonts will be cast out to sea within a tangle of fallen branches, brought by the currents to the shores of Crescentia. Even though by this point the island will have been thoroughly colonized and its ecosystems filled, the arrival of these platodonts will pose a significant threat for the notiforms. Because islands generally have lower levels of competition and predation than the mainland, newly introduced species can quickly become invasive and cause considerable ecological disruption, as seen in species like the brown tree snake in Guam, the common brush-tail possum in New Zealand, and the water hyacinth in Madagascar. In this case, these platodonts will present a new source of competition that the notiforms will have had no way of preparing for, and will have a huge competitive advantage due to their internal skeletons and active respiration, which will let them exploit niches that are inaccessible to the notiforms and allow them to undergo an adaptive radiation of their own, giving rise to a new lineage that we'll call the Xenodonts. Since they're already predominantly arboreal, the Xenodonts may quickly come to monopolize the niches in the treetops, feeding on leaves that the bulky Thyreostracans on the ground can't reach. And within the relative safety of the canopy, they can proliferate and evolve into larger forms, and following the changes in climate and atmospheric composition that take place during this period, the megafaunal notiforms will gradually begin losing ground, giving the Xenodonts the opportunity to take their place as Crescentia's dominant fauna. One of the Xenodonts' most distinct advantages will be their speed, as their skeleton and limb configuration will give them more efficient locomotion than even the Campylospondyls, which one clade may take advantage of to become fast, nimble predators. These forms may retain some arboreal behaviors, but may also exploit the relative lack of competition on the forest floor. And
I'm not gonna lie, I love this color. I love the coloring. I love the way that his hide looks with the stripes. The stripes around the like the legs and stuff around here. This is really getting me. I really like that.
Spend time hunting at ground level as well, with the hooked claws that originally evolved to help them climb trees, now letting them...
This image looks insane. This looks dark.
...latch onto and disembowel their prey. However, such large claws will be at risk of being worn down from abrasion against the ground, so they'll need to evolve some way of keeping them sharp.
Oh, like a retracting.
One solution is to keep the claw raised off the ground, like the foot claws of Dromaeosaurids, or the retractable claws seen in most varieties of cats, the Madagascan fossa, and the grey fox, all of which rely on their claws to both climb trees and to catch prey, and so keep them retracted when not in use to prevent unnecessary wear and tear. Alternatively, another option is knuckle walking, a fairly rare condition wherein the animal supports its weight on its knuckles, keeping the tips of the digits off the ground so they can be used for other purposes. Knuckle walking can be seen in semi-arboreal animals like chimpanzees and gorillas, which use their dexterous fingers for handling food and climbing, but it's also seen in animals that need to maintain long, sharp claws to help them feed, such as the giant anteater, which uses its huge claws to break open insect mounds.
I did not know this. I thought they just walked normal.
While the extinct Calicotheres, which used their claws to reach for and pull down tree branches, even saw the parallel evolution of both knuckle walking and retractable claws. While the anatomy of the osteopod foot isn't exactly equivalent to that of vertebrates, these Xenodonts will have inherited flexible ankle joints from their arboreal ancestors to wrap around and grip tree branches, so when they come down to the ground, they may walk on their wrists with their feet bent backwards, keeping the points of their claws
I'm not gonna lie, I felt like we should have went through the retractable claw route. The knuckle walking is cool. Retractable claws are cooler.
facing upward and away
I'm
from the
gonna be
ground,
that guy.
a trait for which we'll call them
gonna be that guy.
streptotarsans. Meanwhile, the relative lack of competition and the bounty of vegetation may encourage some other xenodonts to independently evolve a ground-dwelling lifestyle and adapt into dedicated herbivores. No longer needing to remain light enough to be supported by the tree branches, these herbivores can now afford to grow much larger, evolving into a clade of heavy-set browsers that fill similar niches to the megalobrachids on the mainland, and convergently evolving strong, robust mandibles with flattened teeth to crush and grind down plant material, and a large multi-chambered foregut to maximize digestive efficiency. Unlike the megalobrachids though, their front walking legs, used by their arboreal ancestors to reach out for and to hook onto branches, may retain their large sickle-shaped claws to assist the pedipalps in reaching upward and pulling down foliage towards the mouth. Once again, these claws will need to be kept long for them to be effective in feeding, so
I ain't gonna lie, these pedipalps have been literally saving this creature's whole species since the beginning. Nah, this worker better for their this works better for their anatomy. Okay.
these animals will also need a way of preventing them from becoming worn down. But unlike the streptotarsans, which need to keep all of their claws sharp so they can be used for climbing trees, these exclusively ground-dwelling herbivores will only need to keep their feeding claws long, which provides an additional option beyond retractable claws and knuckle walking. In other episodes, we've seen centaurism evolve in both the onychodonts and the allobrachids, in both instances evolving as a means to allow the animal to run faster and more efficiently. But in this clade, centaurism may occur as a natural consequence of evolving a ground-dwelling lifestyle, as only the hind 3 pairs of legs evolve to bear the animal's weight, with the claws on these limbs becoming blunt and hoof-like, while their front limbs may become specialized for feeding by being held off the ground to stop their claws from scraping against the soil.
Okay.
This will make them vaguely analogous to animals like Therizinosaurus, which, thanks to its centaurism, could afford to evolve enormous rake-like...
Bro, what is this? Is this a Pokemon? Like, did the guy who made Pokemon make, like, this looks like the, what was that fire one? The fire fighting type? You guys know what I'm talking about. What's that? What is this Pokemon's name? Name that Pokemon. Wait, no. Who's that Pokemon? Dear. And then, you know, we editor in the edit later, make sure you put that Pokemon in the edit, you know, just like make it funny.
feeding
Editor.
claws to reach for vegetation. Due to this distinctive feeding arrangement, we'll call these xenodonts brachiocephalians. The brachiocephalians and streptotarsans will represent only
A plant-eating theropod dinosaur with 10-foot arms. Yes, that's what we were looking at before. Incredible,
fraction
right?
of the diversity that the xenodonts will achieve over the tens of millions of years that they hold dominion over the crustacean ecosystems, but even these creatures won't be able to maintain their
Gotta love
supremacy
it.
in the face of a rapidly changing climate. With the onset of the Ice Age, the landscape of Crescentia will change.
Claws at least a meter long. Guy, I'm sorry, I am in America, so you are gonna have to convert that. Meters, that feels long, but how many baseball bats is that long, you know? How many, what's some American conversions? How many apple pies is that in a row? You gotta tell me. You gotta give me an American conversion, you know? How many football fields long? How many basketballs on top of one another do I need to put to get that a meter, you know? Answer me that, chatter below, please.
Change drastically, with most of the lush jungles giving way to seasonal forests and tundra. This will be a huge challenge for the native species, as most animals on Crescentia won't have any form of thermoregulation.
3 to 5 feet long. Nice. I love it. See, this is what I'm talking about here. This is why we need more chatters like you. Because I was like, hey, can you convert that for me? Immediately converted it for me. That's what I'm talking about.
Making them very sensitive to cold temperatures. and with the scarcity of food brought on by the retreat of the tropical forests, only a small minority of Crescentia's former diversity will manage to survive. But on top of this, during the glacial periods, the stretch of sea between Crescentia and the eastern continent will shrink as the sea levels drop. And if
Okay.
the sea freezes over, it may be possible for animals to travel from one landmass to the other. Crossing a several 100-kilometer stretch of sea ice will be a hazardous and impractical journey for most animals,
Yeah.
but a small number of migratory or wide-ranging species from the mainland might be able to trek across the ice and find their way to Crescentia. The most likely animals to make a journey like this are small, adaptable species that are able to withstand the cold, which on Earth include animals like the Arctic fox and the Falkland Islands wolf, both of which were able to cross the frozen seaways that formed during the last ice age to arrive on Iceland and the Falkland Islands respectively.
I ain't gonna lie, that's just something dogs would do. You know, you guys ever have dogs? You know, I bet if you just let a dog outside, it would find itself halfway across the world. You know, just off some like being a dog. You know, real ones know. Real dogs respect other real dogs. You know, shout outs to both of these species of dogs. This second one looks a little extinct, but shout outs to it. The Falkland Islands. The Falkland Islands? Is that the island where like South America and like Britain had like a little mini war over? Like that little, it's like South. It's like in South America. It's like a South American island that like nobody really cares about. I think they had like a little spat about that in like World War II or around that era. But yeah, crazy. This was the island? Okay, I thought this was the right island.
And are both the only land mammals other than humans to ever inhabit their home islands. In this case, the Alodonts living along the southern coast of the eastern continent are generalist enough to feed on whatever food they can find on the icy plains, and their endothermy will help them resist the cold once the ice age arrives, an advantage they may strengthen by evolving a shaggy coat of fur from the tiny setae that cover their bodies, a near-identical development to what occurred in the closely related thecopods, making the two clades appear very similar despite existing on opposite sides of the planet. For these cold-adapted Alodonts, which we'll call Eriotheres, migrating south would present an escape from the fierce competition of the mainland, prompting at least one species to cross the frozen seaway to Crescentia. By the time they arrive, almost all the large xenodonts will have died out, so they'll face very little competition as they move into the island's megafaunal niches. And once the Ice Age ends, they'll become stranded on Crescentia as the sea ice melts, leaving them to thrive in allopatric isolation just as the notiforms and xenodonts did before them, undergoing their own radiation.
Oh, it was Argentina and the United Kingdom. It's owned by the UK, but it's near Argentina. Yes. That was the island. Shout outs to, see, this is why I love my audience. You guys are actually you guys are a smart, sophisticated crew. You know, you guys are like able to have these type of conversations, you know. You can't just have these conversations with anybody, you know, and not every YouTuber is going to just know that type of stuff. So, also shout outs to me, you know. I don't think I get enough credit for doing the little things. Reading, sometimes pronouncing the words that you guys put on the screen correctly. You know, at times I do pronounce things right every once in a while. Shout outs to me.
Over the coming tens of millions of years as Crescentia continues to slowly drift south. But Crescentia will be only one of thousands of islands scattered across.
Bro, who made this?
The ocean.
Is this
many of which will be too.
Okay, I don't want to call you dumb, but that's the artist's name. DUM. This is an incredible piece of art right here that I'm looking at, people. Like, we're gonna get stronger islands, so everyone lock in. Oh, stranger, my bad. I told you. Every once in a while, I'll say it correctly. Not every single time. We're getting stranger islands. Let's lock in, everybody. Lock in. Also, once again, this image, incredible. If you are an artist or person who knows how to do art out there, I love stuff like this. Send me art sometimes. links all on the channel. You know where to. I believe in you guys. You can just send me links. You'll find me. You know, you search on the internet long enough, I'm sure you'll find me.
Potential will be only one of thousands of islands scattered across the ocean, many of which will be too small and remote to be reached by crossing sea ice or land bridges, and for which...
Hold on. Does that look like a little face to you guys as well? Like, this is like the face, kind of like a little nose, little smile right here. Is that... Do y'all see it, or is that just me adding faces to non-living objects? Like, is that just me being weird, or is that like you guys see that too?
Many of which will be too small and remote to be reached by crossing sea ice or land bridges, and for which rafting events will be vanishingly rare. By far the most likely animals to make it to islands like these will be flying and semi-aquatic clades, especially migratory species that are adapted for traveling over long distances.
The semi-aquatics right here, and the flying ones. We're about to get into the flying ones, aren't we?
The first clade of animals to develop flight were the Opisthophorans.
Yeah.
And once long-ranging species like the Magnopterans evolve, it won't be long before some of them adapt for a seagoing lifestyle.
True.
Soaring over the ocean and snatching acanthopods out of the water, much like seabirds and fishing bats on Earth.
Fishing bats? Have y'all ever seen a fishing bat before? Like, I've never seen a fishing bat a day in my life. I never knew these existed. Everybody, lock in, everybody. We are about to be learning.
For animals like these, remote islands will serve as ideal mating grounds, where they can carry out their courtship and lay their eggs without needing to worry about predators. This degree of safety may even encourage some animals to spend their entire lives here, which may go hand in hand with another development. Flight provides a number of distinct advantages, especially when it comes to dispersal and escaping predators, but it comes at a steep metabolic cost, hugely increasing the amount of food the animal needs to consume and requiring a number of anatomical specializations to be efficient. This means that if a flying animal finds itself in an isolated environment with few predators, then flight may no longer be useful enough to justify its energetic demands, and the species may end up losing its ability to fly altogether. As such, flightlessness is an extremely common evolutionary trend on islands, seen in groups like the elephant birds of Madagascar, kiwis and moa in New Zealand, dodos on Mauritius, and many, many others.
That's crazy. I never even thought about this. This makes so much sense. I never thought about this a day in my life. Like, even, is that even like kind of count with, I know Australia is different, but like, does that kind of count with Australia too? Like with ostriches? Like, I don't know.
Becoming flightless may also allow species to expand into new niches with which flight would be incompatible. Since the majority of seabirds feed on fish, they obviously need to enter the water in order to find and catch their prey. But swimming and flying are very different forms of locomotion, mainly due to the drastic difference in density between water and air, and specializing for moving through one medium will unavoidably decrease the animal's efficiency of moving through the other. This is exemplified by seabirds like the pelagic cormorant, whose short, broad wings help them steer while underwater, but also give them the lowest flying efficiency of any bird species. This trade-off has also shaped the evolution of specialized feeding behaviors. Some flying piscivores, like skimmers and greater bulldog bats, never enter the water but instead fly overhead and snatch up fish that swim near the surface, while others, like gannets and brown pelicans, dive into the water to pursue their prey. For species that specialize for piscivory, the pressure to evolve effective swimming may outweigh the benefits provided by flight, so becoming flightless will allow them to adapt more completely for aquatic life, and has consequently occurred in many seabirds like penguins, great auks, and some varieties of waterfowl.
Okay.
Likewise, many of the island-dwelling Magnopterans will no longer...
That's not just a regular duck. That's a waterfowl. All ducks are waterfowls, I'm assuming? That's the assumption I'm going through here. I imagine I'm correct on that one.
Need to worry about evading predators or dispersing to new areas, so they can afford to give up flight entirely to let them more efficiently hunt aquatic prey.
This actually looks like a seal. This actually looks just like a seal already. I like that.
Give up flight entirely to let them more efficiently hunt aquatic prey. This flightlessness may be accompanied by an increase in body size, not only due to insular gigantism, but also because larger sizes increase diving efficiency. This will be complemented by their efficient respiratory system and the internal support provided by their gladius, letting them grow into some of the largest lophostomes on the planet. To support a heavier...
I gotta say, I don't know if you guys respect the imagery on this, but like, first of all, I love all the art in this, but images like this specifically, like, it's so, like, with the blotchiness of it and everything, it's so simple, yet it's so, like, detailed. It gives me, like, such a vibe of being there, but, like, I'm looking at the creatures, but, like, this is how I feel like they would look. Not, like, how I think I would actually be seeing them in real life, but, like, the feeling. I feel like if I saw the creatures, like, this exact creature in real life, and then re-saw this image would give me the feeling that I had when I saw the creature in real life, if that makes sense. If you guys understand, let me know if that makes any sense. I'm probably just yapping because I love to yap, guys. You know this. You've watched the channel before. There's nothing new here.
Grow into some of the largest lophostomes on the planet. To support a heavier body, their wings and canards, having a much greater degree of musculature than the boneless walking legs, may take over the role of locomotion on land as well, letting them awkwardly haul themselves along the ground, unlike most other Opisthophorans which fold their wings backward when they land. These wings may shorten into a pair of powerful flippers to provide effective underwater propulsion, while the canards will help them steer and maintain stability, making their style of swimming less like that of wing-propelled divers like penguins and orcs, and more similar to that of foot-propelled divers like loons and the extinct Hesperornis.
What the Hesperornis? Okay, guys, what the Hesperornis are you talking about here? This creature looks insane. That's like a feathered bird, but it's like, look at the legs. The legs are all like, that's so crazy to me. Now, I get this is probably more like how it would actually look, you know? But even this, like, seeing this image right here is insane to me. This duck is fully underwater. Like, get out the water, bro. What are you doing? If I'm a fish, okay, if I'm a fish and I'm a sea creature and I see this guy, I'm literally looking at this guy like, what are you doing down here? Like, who do you think you are? Like, is this the life this ain't the life you live, buddy. You need air. Go be with your people. Don't be coming down here with messing up our life, being a underwater duck, bro. Get out of here. That's what I would say.
Along with a more streamlined body, they may evolve valves within their spirit.
A human-sized seabird with teeth. Is that what you're describing to me? Did you just comment a human-sized seabird with teeth? First of all, you thought I'm not recommending you to go to the New Zealand because of that one cricket. I'm telling you right now, do not visit this island specifically. Actually, I should probably just say this whole planet, but I'm be honest, this planet got some nice stuff to it, but it'll be better in that video game we were talking about before, you know? Guys, lock in. Go ahead and create the video game. I only take like 40% of the profits. Just give me 40%. Take the idea, run with it. You know, put my name in the little special thanks to this guy for, you know, bringing up the idea on a live stream, dated, you know, 9/12/2025. You already know, timestamp that. I came up with the idea. You guys created it. Shout outs to both of us, though. It was a collaborative effort. Me and the person who's eventually going to create the game that I just recommended.
To let them hold their breath while underwater. And the regional endothermy that lets their wing muscles function optimally will also allow them to maintain a stable body temperature in cold water, which will be of great benefit once the Ice Age arrives, and will give them an advantage in...
Hesperornis lived around the same time as T-Rex. Whoa. Imagine going back in time. You see a T-Rex, you're running away from the T-Rex, right? Okay, here's the scenario. Bro just told me this was in the middle of the T-Rex time, so that just made me, I gotta yap for a second. You are in prehistoric time. You got a time machine, you land in prehistoric times, okay? You see a T-Rex, you run from that thing. You're like, whoa, this T-Rex is crazy. Let me get out of here. Into the water. Oh my gosh, I'm safe. I'm headed towards the water. You see a human-sized bird with teeth coming at you. You go into water, it's diving in there too. It's a swimmer. It's a fast swimmer. Now all of a sudden, it's hitting moves. You over here like, whoa, what the? I guess I'm just dead, right? I guess that's just my life right there. I guess that's just how I end, thanks to this human-sized bird with teeth that can swim. Once again, human-sized swimming bird with teeth. There you go. That's the video. Not really, but you know what I mean, guys. It's actually getting insane there.
Competing with other semi-aquatic clays like the Actophias.
Oh, trust me. It's far from the worst thing in the sea. I know! That's the crazy part. This ain't even the worst thing in the sea. That's just in my mind canon. Imagine you just running away from the T-Rex. You see that thing first. It's freaking you out. But then you got to realize, wait, why am I going to the water? This is probably the least safe place to be in the prehistoric times. Long story short, wasn't no place safe for us. We live in the best timeline currently, where we became humans after all the dinosaurs were already extinct. For the most part, like shout outs to our ancestor who was like some type of small little rat creature just surviving, Shout outs to the first mammal just out there just surviving, living life, being a small rodent type creature probably. Shout outs to the very first mammal. You the OG, you did it all. You walked so I could run today. Look at us now, OG. You the OG for real. Look at us now. We got internet and stuff, baby. We good. You started all this. I want you to know, if you're watching this from up above, prehistoric mammal creature that, made the first thing that became humans, I appreciate you. We would live underground. Yeah. Shout outs to underground.
Island habitats. Opisthoптeren clade. These creatures, which we'll call Diptopterids, will be just one of many Opisthoптeren clades that independently become flightless in response to their secluded island habitats. And once they're sufficiently adapted for a semi-aquatic lifestyle, they'll be able to swim across the sea to reach other islands or even the coasts of the mainland, coming ashore to breed and to lay their eggs. However, the evolution of the Diptopterids will be shortly followed by the appearance of the Pleuropterans, which, having also evolved flight, will share the same long-distance capabilities as the...
I forgot how much I like these things. This is such a great design. And also, once again, shout outs to this guy's audience, because look at this. Look at this. They're sending him this stuff.
Or even the coasts of the mainland.
Look at this animation right now. This is incredible animation. I'm telling you. This would be some, you worked very hard to get this animation. Color me impressed, people. I am impressed by the artistry that it takes to make this on your computer. I can't do it. 3D animation. Wait, you don't like it? Like Pixar, yeah.
Or to breed and to lay their eggs.
Oh,
however, the evolution...
Okay. I thought you said it was shit, but you was like 3D animation and shit, like Pixar. That makes me... I get it now. I get it.
The Diptopterids will be shortly followed by the appearance of the Pleuropterans, which, having also evolved flight, will share the same long-distance capabilities as the Opisthoperans, and so will likewise be poised to spread across the planet and find their way to habitats that are unreachable for other clades. Since the Opisthoperans evolved over 60 million...
Guys, look at the detail in this image, though. Some of these things really just pop. Look at the detail of this one specifically, and then the island behind it and the water. I'm sorry. This one, I actually really like this one. I enjoyed this art style,
In years before the Pleuropterans, they'll have had a head start in colonizing most islands, but a perfect opportunity for the Pleuropterans may arise with one particular geological development.
Okay.
Over millions of years, underwater volcanic activity fueled by hotspots on the planet's mantle can produce plumes of rock large enough to emerge above the ocean's surface, effectively creating a brand new island or even chains of islands as the crust slowly drifts over the top of the hotspot. On Earth, islands like Iceland and Hawaii were formed through this process, and on our alien planet, one such hotspot may occur in a remote region of the ocean, resulting in the formation of an archipelago that we'll call Pyronesia. When they first form, these islands will be nothing but barren outcrops of solid rock, completely devoid of any native species, but even habitats as desolate as this will still attract species to colonize them.
True.
However, as this archipelago will be over 4,000 kilometers from the nearest coast, it will be almost impossible to...
Wait, is this gonna be like the furthest island away from the mainlands so far that we've seen? This is crazy. Pay attention. This is gonna get weird. Are these your favorite islands? Yeah. I think
reach with passive
he likes
dispersal
his
mechanisms
video.
like rafting.
I can see why.
So
I like
flying
this one
animals
too.
will once again be the most likely organisms to
Wait
find their
and
way
see.
here, including
Wait
not
and
only
see. No, don't spoil it for us. Don't spoil it for us.
the Opisthophorans, but also the newly evolved Pleuropterans. Like the ancestors of the Diptopterids, the flying species that arrive on Pyronesia will likely be migratory acanthivores that come to the islands to feed and lay their eggs away from the perils of the mainland.
Okay.
As they migrate to the archipelago, they may unwittingly bring other clades with them, such as phoretic malacoforms clinging to their skin and the diaspores of plants adapted for animal-assisted dispersal like the chromatophytes. The populations that these species establish will slowly transform the archipelago into a stable habitat through a process called ecological succession, the progressive change in the structure and composition of an ecosystem over time. Succession
Okay.
can be divided into primary succession.
So like first the plants take over, and then that causes the area to change, obviously creating plant life. Probably like the grass and everything forms first, which immediately turns it from a barren wasteland to like at least a place that has a lot of grass. Then I imagine like some trees or like bigger plants start to form, which attracts smaller bugs and creatures, which attracts probably birds and other creatures that want those smaller creatures, which attracts slightly bigger ones, which would eventually, change. Also, like when roots grow and everything, it probably changes the look of the environment as well. So yeah, I think I get this now. The alien bugs.
In which an
Yes.
ecosystem forms in a brand new habitat with no pre-existing species, and secondary succession, where the ecosystem recovers after an ecological disturbance.
Oh.
Pyronesia will be a perfect example of the former, as the landscape will initially consist of nothing but newly exposed rock. The first stage of succession is initiated by pioneer species, usually small plants, lichens, and fungi that are hardy enough to grow.
Guys, I'm no genius here, but did I not just call this? Like, am I not like at least kind of a genius, a little smart, kind of smarter than your average bear? I don't know.
On
Give me
bare
a little
rock,
credit here.
which, assisted by erosion from the wind, waves, and rain, will start to break down the rock into mineral-rich soil.
Okay.
In the case of Pyronesia, the pioneer species may include some of the chromatophytes, which, being epiphytes, are already adapted for growing in the absence of soil, and without any towering altophytes around them to block out sunlight, they'll have a much easier time growing on these islands than in the rainforest, forming a carpet of multicolored filaments along the ground. These pioneer species will pave the way for intermediate species like some of the
Okay.
other brachyphyte clades and various caulophytes, which will further contribute to soil formation.
Holy crap. What is this? Is this like a AI image? Is this like a 3D AI? Like, is this 3D generated, or is this like a fully AI image? Either way, this is crazy. This is actually very impressive. I was not expecting to see freaking real life stalks of grain here on this island. What is this? This is incredible.
Until it ultimately becomes suitable for trees to take root. In most ecosystems across this planet, the niches of trees are filled by the xylophytes, but with the exception of the coelophytes, these plants aren't well suited for long-distance dispersal, as their diaspores are much smaller and more prone to desiccation than plants like the chromatophytes, making them comparatively...
It's 3D modeling. You hate AI images? No, I hope it's not like an AI image as well. You guys are saying it's not an AI image, it's just 3D modeling. Good. I like when these are all made by actual people. I enjoy that more. Even if it was AI, though, I will say that was probably, if it would have been one of the most impressive AI things I've seen. But I don't find a lot of the AI to be impressive at all. So the bar is not super high. I am happy this was made by humans, though. We need actual human creativity to keep making art, because that's what art is, ladies and gentlemen. Art is like just part of like the human creativity. You know, things are beautiful in nature, but it takes a human mind to see it as art or be like artistically inspired by it. You know, that's just part of being a human. It's being aware and being able to create art.
Relatively unlikely to survive a trip all the way across the ocean. This means that the xylophytes may not have much of a presence on Pyronesia, providing an opportunity for other plants on the archipelago to move into their niches. The xylophyte's signature adaptation is their layer of rigid tissues that gives them the structural support to grow enormously tall trunks to reach upward for light. But although this has allowed them to become the dominant form of tree across the planet, it's unlikely to be a unique adaptation. Even on Earth, plants that we would recognize as trees have independently evolved across many clades, like for example how palm trees are actually more closely related to grasses than to conifer trees.
Really?
Similarly, on our alien planet, even though the xylophytes are the most widespread group of tree-like plants, there are likely to be many other plants that have convergently evolved tough, inflexible stems for greater support. And on Pyronesia, with very few xylophyte species to compete with, one such clade may now be able to grow into the archipelago's dominant large flora, a clade of plants that we'll call Nothodendrons. And throughout the process of succession, new niches will also be opened for animals as well, which may incentivize the migratory Opisthophorans and Pleuropterans to take up permanent residence here and to integrate with the local ecology. And with no other...
Wait, why do they have these little spiky things here? Are these like for pollination? Like, are they gonna like shoot out when these things are like ready to pollinate? Like, do they just like shoot out of them and just fall to the ground and like help replant? Because I ain't gonna lie, that'd be pretty cool. Wait, are you saying Elisa Savant mine? Am I a savant? Probably, you know. That's just me. I'm like, get me on a piano, I'm a savant. Get me on a drums, I'm a savant. Get me in a raps, I'm a savant. Get me in a battle, okay. That's what a real person could do right there. I could be a rapper if I want. See, I would be a rapper, but you know what? We only got 6 minutes left. My rap would immediately make this 40
be open for animals as well, which may incentivize the migratory Opisthophorans and Pleuropterans to take up permanent residence here and to integrate with the local ecology. And with no other diplostomes or osteopods on the islands, the conditions will be ideal for both clades to undergo an adaptive radiation to spread into every niche the islands have to offer. Unlike the ancestors of the Diptopterids, the Opisthophorans on these islands will still need to contend with a considerable amount of competition and predation from the Pleuropterans, and so they may still retain their flight to help them escape danger. Due to their limited size and lack of a true skeleton, they won't be able to effectively compete for the niches of apex predators and megafaunal herbivores, and so will be relegated to the niches of malacivores, scavengers, and even frugivores and nectarovores, convergently evolving to fill similar niches to the Picopterans and Leptopterans on the mainland. On the other hand, the Pleuropterans will be at the top of the food chain, so once they begin adapting for ground-level niches, their flight may be more of a hindrance than an asset, with their wings restricting their movement through the dense groves of Nothodendrons. But if they become flightless, the middle two pairs of legs and the wing membrane they support can shrink so as to not get in the way of the forelimbs and hind limbs, which will be the only legs involved in locomotion, making these forms the only quadrupedal osteopods to evolve thus far, and thus giving them some of the most energy-efficient locomotion of any land animal.
I see this thing just walking around like he's just wearing like he's just walking around here like he's just wearing his pajamas or something, you know, just like, it's the middle of the night, gotta go to the bathroom, got a blanket wrapped around me or something like that. Like, bro, what are you doing? Looks like he's about to go into the fridge in the middle of the night. You still got the blanket wrapped around him.
In reference to the vestiges of the wing membrane connecting their legs, let's call these animals Chlamypterans. No longer constrained by the demands of flight, these Chlamypterans will now be free to expand into new niches that they would otherwise be precluded from. As mentioned in Part 9, leaves are difficult to digest and don't offer enough nutrition for folivores to maintain a very active lifestyle.
Hey, and once again, shout outs to pandas for almost, if it weren't for human intervention, I'm pretty sure these things would have died because all they like to do is eat bamboo, which is not nutritionally enough to sustain them. But they're also super lazy and they refuse to get other things, and now you gotta have them in zoos, apparently. Like, now these things, like, they never just got smart enough to eat other things. Like, at this point, I'm thinking it'd be better for the species to just start eating people. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I know you guys want to. I know you're like, whoa, when is he going to be wrong about something so I can correct him? It's like he's never wrong. Oh my gosh. Yeah, a perfect 100 for 100.
You know? Making them a poor food source for flying animals. But once these Theropterans become flightless, they won't need to maintain such a high energy diet and will now be better able to explore.
Interesting. Is this like a art over like a real image at is this like the created art in the foreground and then like underneath it is like a real image of the ground? I like this one. This is interesting. Like, can somebody explain if this is like, or if this was also like made? Because the art in this right here look a lot different than here. Yeah, probably. Okay, that makes sense.
The niches of large herbivores, similar to how the majority of ratite species took up herbivory after they gave up flight. To cope with a constant input of tough, nutrient-poor foliage, these Theropterans may evolve an expanded, complex foregut like many of the megafaunal clades on the mainland, and an elongated cephalothorax to browse on the leaves of the Nothodendron.
Now it's just a giraffe. It looks like an image drawn on top of... Yeah, it does. It does kind of look like a real picture with the actual image drawn on top of it. But we're just looking at giraffes now, people. This is just their version of the giraffe. Also, these plants, absolutely insane. I like these. I something about this plant. I like this plant. But this giraffe creature is actually insane.
In compliance with Foster's rule, their body size may be contingent on the availability of food on their home island, which, while not enough to let them grow to sizes comparable to mainland megafauna like the titanopods, will still let these animals, which we'll call hypsirhynchids, evolve into some of the largest animals on Pyronesia. And with clades like these filling the herbivorous niches, other varieties of Chlamypterans may subsequently adapt to prey on them. Having evolved from the same flying ancestors as the hypsirhynchids, they'll inherit the same long-legged gait, chasing down their prey in a sort of bounding gallop. Their pedipalps, used by their ancestors to snatch acanthopods out of the water, may evolve scythe-like claws to kill and dismember their prey, recalling large island-dwelling predators like the giant marabou stork and the enormous pterosaur Hatzegopteryx. With the evolution of these predators, which we'll call temnorhynchids, all of the major niches on the Pyronesian ecosystems will be filled, and the process of succession will reach a point of equilibrium, culminating in what's sometimes called a climax or steady-state community. Processes like these will occur on each and every one of the innumerable islands on this planet, each one independently cultivating its own unique assemblage of species and ecosystems, with the few we've described here serving to illustrate a small selection of noteworthy island-dwelling clades to evolve throughout the planet's history up to about 20 million years or so after the Ice Age comes to an end. But away from isolated habitats like these, there are other innovations quietly taking place across the world at large that deserve special attention. In the next episode, we'll return to the mainland to take a closer look at the evolution of sociality and cooperative behaviors.
Oh, hold on. That's actually going to be a really good video. I ain't gonna lie.
Thanks to all the artists on Discord who contributed artwork for this episode.
Once again, shout outs to all the artists. I have so much love and respect for all the art that I see in these videos. Shout outs to Boblidrion, obviously, first and foremost. He's the guy that gets it done. He does this. He's got the audience. I support him. Make sure you guys all subscribe to him.
And who say
but the artists themselves do deserve some praise as well. They're really adding an extra dimension to these videos by just providing their artwork, and it's actually so incredible.
Give me an enormous amount of time and effort when making these videos, while simultaneously making them look a hell of a lot better in the process.
Exactly.
Links to the main server and the Alien Biospheres fan server in the description. And once again, a massive thanks to all the patrons, whose continued support makes videos like these possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
The tree of life is looking very complicated now. Yeah, that's true. It's a complicated life cycle here, you know? We're living in the more complicated reality. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be ending this stream in a moment here. I think we had a pretty good time, and for anybody who wanted to see more Harry Mack, I'm sorry. Tomorrow, okay? We'll do something tomorrow for some Harry Mack. It'll either be a live or recorded. Let me do this. How about that? I just want the images to stay showing this whole time here. But yeah, guys, if you've made it this far into the video, how did you like this live stream? It's the real question, you know? How did you like being a part of the live stream? You know, if you're watching this after it's already been re-edited and put out for this specific section, imagine this is like 2 videos. This part might get cut out. Who knows? But, you know, how did you like the recorded version of this? Comment down below. Live people, how did you feel about the live video, you know? Yeah, next episode, social behaviors. It's gonna be incredible. Shout outs to you, Townsend Coleman, Townsend Coleman. I may be able to pronounce your name on the next live stream. That I won't promise you, but I believe in myself, and you believe in me, and I believe in me, and that's the most important thing. Yeah, and also TTYL, you know, it's like talk to you later right there. I know that one. I'm a millennial, as they say. But yeah, guys, I had a lot of fun with this one. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far into the video, I do want to tell you, thank you. I love you. Bye.